principle is if you set a goal with failure potential, a goal that's beyond your grasp, you're going to one day be looking back at where you were and think, I remember that day that I had diabetes or I had that problem. And then I had this goal and I accomplished that goal. And then I had this goal and I accomplished this goal. And now I've got a new goal. And think about how much greater you are because you kept setting better goals and higher goals. Your company is setting higher goals for you. You're setting higher goals for you. Those goals are goals you might not be able to achieve right now, but the satisfaction of trying for them and when you finally do achieve them is so much more gratifying and satisfying than anything you've ever done in your entire life. All right, so let me tell you a story, and I'm going to close with this. When I started talking to you today, I left you when I was at mile 13 of that Ironman triathlon in November of 2004. I was at mile 13 of the marathon. I'd already run and cycled and swam 127 miles, and I only had 13 miles to go. I had 13 miles left to go in the marathon. That was all. Now, at this point in the Ironman triathlon is when your body really starts to hurt. It feels like someone is taking a knife and they're jamming it down in your quads and they're turning it as hard as they can and they're pulling the muscles right off the bone and you're starting to cramp in your hamstrings and your quads are starting to tighten up and your stomach is starting to feel like at any moment you could throw up because you've been eating gels and bars and drinking sport drinks for now close to 8.5, 9 hours. And I'm thinking, I don't know how much longer I can do this. But I make it another 6 miles, another 7 miles. This time I'm at mile 20 of the marathon. I've only got 6 more miles to go. 6 more miles of the 140-mile Ironman triathlon. And at this point I'm thinking, I don't know if I can keep up this pace. My goal is to break 9 hours and 50 minutes to qualify for the World Championship. At that point, 2 athletes pass me. A guy from Germany and a guy from the U.S. And I'm thinking, do I have enough strength to hang on to these guys? And I literally want to reach out and grab them as they run by me. And I hold on to the back of them and start running with them. I hang on and run with them for about 3 more miles. At this point, I don't think I can do it anymore. My blood sugar is dropping. My diabetes is starting to give me problems. I'm getting so severely dehydrated. I can hardly see because of the tears are starting to form in my eyes. My breath is getting where I can't even talk if someone was trying to speak to me. And at that point, with 3 miles left to go, I've gone 137 miles. I'm about ready to scale back and let those 2 guys go. There's crowds all over the place in the last 3 miles of the Ironman. And that's when, out of the crowd, I saw my coach. And he stuck his head out as I go by. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? It almost makes me get emotional right now thinking about that moment. Because I could feel the tears build in my eyes when he said that. There was no way I was going to let those 2 guys get away from me. There was no way I was going to not run past those 2 guys. There was no way I was not going to race for 9 hours and 30 minutes and give up the last 3 miles and let those 2 guys beat me. I passed those 2 guys. I got to that 100-meter mark of the finish line just like my vision was. My finish line vision, the kids and everyone's were sticking their hands out and I was slapping them as I was going by with every last bit of energy in my body. The music was playing, the crowd, the helicopters were overhead, the announcer was screaming, he was calling out my name. I crossed the finish line and I did it in 9 hours and 47 minutes and 14 seconds. And I collapsed in the arms of the people at the finish line. Now, they carried me into the medical tent because I couldn't even stand at that point. And they immediately took my blood sugar and they're giving me an IV of fluid.